Elite Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Popple, and today we have an exciting guest on, Diego Ferro, a Miami-based real estate investor who has found his true niche in one of the most overlooked asset classes in the game, land. We love land over here. So after operating Airbnbs, flipping apartments, and wholesaling deals, and even building his own furniture brand, Diego realized something powerful. Land is a simpler, leaner, and often more profitable than traditional real estate. Today, he flips undervalued parcels full time, negotiating directly with sellers and creating a small exit strategies. And he's now mentoring students through their first active land deals. If you've ever wondered how to flip dirt for real profit, this episode's the one for you. So let's dive in with Diego. Hey, Diego, welcome.
Hey, what's up, Sam? Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's get it rolling.
Sounds good. Well, give us the quick version. How'd you go from Airbnbs and flips to land?
Yeah, so I started Airbnb because I wanted to have a more predictable business that have like to know what I'm gonna make the next month. Before that, I used to flip furniture and even make my furniture brand here in Miami. And it was really good, the furniture business, but I wanted to get into real estate. That's always was my goal. So yeah, I started doing Airbnb, and the money is really good. The way that I did it is I was doing Airbnb arbitrage. That means that I don't own the properties. I just rent them from the owners, and then I put it on the Airbnb and I pocket the difference that I can make, more than the rent. And the only thing you have to invest, of course, is first security deposit, the furniture, and all of that. But it was a good experience. It was my first fit in real estate, my first taste. I learned how to manage, let's say, short term tenants, let's say. But for me, it was just a pain. It was a little bit stressful being super transparent, always being worried about like when a guest arrive, everything is perfect. There's people that even if you do everything right, they're gonna find something wrong, right? There's always that type of people. So I didn't like the fact that one guest with one review could destroy basically all your effort, your investment, your business. So I decided to do something else. And that's where I was starting, to looking at other things. And I came across land with a YouTube video. And for me, instantly it clicked. It's, as you say, it's really, nobody's, like there's not so much competition. More people are focusing on wholesaling real estate, flipping houses. The more traditional ways are popular, let's say, in the real estate investing. So yeah, when I see the opportunity, I saw the opportunity. I went ahead and I started investing in my education. I have a track record that I always, in every business that I wanted to be in, I invested in mentorship. I invested in a $7,500 mentorship for doing Airbnb arbitrage. When I wanted to start, learning about Amazon, I as well invested in a course. Like for me, it's the best money that you can investing in yourself. So that's what I did. I find myself the three different coaches, the best that I could find, and I start learning, start consuming land, taking a look at all the YouTube video, all the podcasts, consuming information. If you really want to do something, you have to be obsessed, right? So
Right.
that's what I did. And taking consideration that while doing this, I didn't have active income because I sold Airbnbs. So I have to make it work one way or another, right? So yeah, basically that's how I started in land.
Awesome. Now, what makes land investing different psychologically from houses?
Well, first of all, there's no emotional attachment from the sellers. Most of the time, it's the piece of land that they have, they or even inherited, or they don't been there like in years, or they pay really cheap for their land. So and there's not like a house where you have memories, you see your child grow in that house, like, or you have like more emotional attachment than land. So for me, it was just the way, it looks way easier. I personally have wholesale real estate as well. I have flipped two apartments here in Sunrise, Florida, and it's good. Like I learned a lot flipping those apartments. how to manage subs and the permit side and all of that. But it was just so much work and so many things can go wrong. And that for me, I find it way better just flipping land, buy it for really cheap, sell it as is with a really good marketing strategy. And yeah, it's been working for me lately.
Yeah, I love that. Where are you sourcing land deals right now? Are you doing mail, county lists, MLS, direct outreach, or what's your method?
Yeah, so my outreach method is cold calling and as well text blasting. I personally send 50,000 texts a month. That means an average of 2,000 texts a day with Smarter Contact, that is an app that I use. And if anyone want to learn how to use it, just hit me up, and I have a code there. But yeah, it's a website that I use where it let me send thousands of text messages with a click of one button, and it's personalized. So what I do, I don't focus on market properties. I just focus off market and on the rural side. Like I don't go for the big cities. I don't go where there's a lot of building happening, like for example, like Lehigh Acres, for example, a super hot area. No, I go 2 or 3 counties removed from big metro areas, and I try to go for bigger acreage. I don't go nothing below 1 acre. That's the smallest that I have bought till now.
Okay, cool. Now, and I think you kind of answered this because I was about to ask what kind of land are you targeting, but you kind of went into that. Pretty much anything bigger than an acre,
Yeah,
preferably rural, not in for lack of a better phrase, we'll call it like the name brand counties, like maybe not Dade County, but
yeah,
like the county next to it, or not like like I said, one of the big where like say like where Orlando is or Miami
yeah.
is. Or,
For example, to know the density, there's a page that is called Statistical Atlas. You just put the county, and it's gonna tell you. You just put the state, and it's gonna show you the whole state and what's the population density. So I try to stay always under 200 in population density. And yeah, that's how I look the pieces of land, how I look for them. I don't try to go to the big cities or big metro areas where the price per acre is like more than $25,000 or 20,000. I always try to stay below, ideally $15,000 per acre. So those type of counties are the one that I look. The ones that are less than 15,000 per acre, have a low population density. It's not that far away from a big metro area, so as well I don't have so much difficulty at the moment to sell the land. But as well, it doesn't have that much of a hype, that everyone wants to buy land there, and it's super competitive. So yeah, that's the type of land that I look for. And of course, totally dry and no landlocked, right? Landlocked property is a property that doesn't have legal access,
right.
right? So I always look for properties that at max have like 15% wetlands in the whole property. I don't like to go over 15%, but if you have a little bit of a wetland in the back, like for me it's okay. I buy it. I buy it. That's
No,
cool.
no, you brought up a good point, and yeah, me being in the Panhandle as well, I come across this problem a lot. One of the biggest issues we have whenever we're evaluating land in Florida, a lot of times is wetlands. So whenever you're kind of looking at it on the big scale and trying to weed through these, how do you tell the wetlands if they're a problem or not? When you're evaluating online remotely.
Yeah, for sure. So before I start doing outreach, of course, I'm not gonna waste my time calling properties that have a big wetlands or a big flood zone, and that have a big slope. There's all those factors. I do a list on the land portal. If you really want to be a land investor, you need to use the land portal. If you know about PropStream, it's pretty similar than PropStream or PropWire, let's say,
Oh,
but it
the land portal.
yeah, the land portal. Yeah, it's the best data for land that you can find, and that's how you can go directly. When you put the filters, you can filter out the ones that doesn't match your criteria,
Is
right?
that is that similar to Landglide or is that a different one?
No, it's a different one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, we've used Landglide a lot, but I'm gonna check out the land portals and app.
Yeah, the land portal. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out and see what are the top three things you look for before you even make an offer on land.
Yeah. So first of all, when I try to, well, first of all, I do my list, right? I get the data from the land portal where I specify that I don't want to talk with nobody that have more than 15% wetlands, 15% in a floodplain, as well, no more than X amount of a slope, right? I want as flat as possible. And as well, you can filter like how long these guys have owned a piece of land, because you don't want to waste your time talking to someone that just bought that piece of land like a week ago, right? You want to go for the ones that have bought it like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, that they have a lot of equity, they buy it cheap. So that's one of the things that I look. Then when I start talking to the seller, the first thing that I do is I go to the property sales property record of the county, and I find out how much they bought it for, right? Because as well, I don't want to waste my time speaking with someone that have bought it pretty close to what I want to buy it for. So
Right.
I try to go always first for the people that have bought it for really cheap and long time ago, and it doesn't have wetlands, it doesn't have a flood zone, and it shows interest on the text message, when I'm texting them.
Mhm. Now, are you sending that text out before you're evaluating the land, or are you evaluating the land and then sending the text messages out?
No, I build the list that is gonna allow me to remove the pieces of land that are not within my filters. And then when they reply to me, that's when I do a deeper due diligence before giving an offer. First, I just do a general, filters to decrease the amount of bad land, let's say like that. And then when they reply to me, and I always try to get a price out of them first. That's one of my negotiation techniques, that you never want to give out the price first. You always try to let them, ask them how much they need, not how much they want. Because when you tell them how much they want and how much they need, it's basically the same, but it's not the same.
Right, right. I want $1 billion, but I
Yeah,
need.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's people like that, that's in everyone that works in real estate know that there's a seller that asks crazy prices for a piece of land that is not worth even like one piece of that. But
Right.
it's a numbers game. You have to keep sending text messages. You only need one guy to say yes, and you're gonna make at least $20,000 per piece of land.
Mhm.
So
Now, uh, how do you determine if a parcel is undervalued, as far as, because I guess they're going to say the price, but how do you determine if like you have a good spread on a piece of property or not?
yeah, sure. So the first thing you need to do is determine the value, right? How much it's worth. So for that, first you have to look the physical aspects of the property, right? That it does have legal access, the zoning, all of the utilities, all of these. You do it calling just with a simple call to the county. They're gonna give you all that information, right? So they're gonna tell you, confirm that there's legal access, what are the zoning, what if the utility is closed or not, all of that, just the county. Then after you check the first box that are physical aspects, right? No wetlands, no flood zone, and legal access and the slope, right? That part,
Mhm.
let's say physical aspects of the property. And then you have to locate that piece of land on Zillow.com, right? That's the way I do it. Or as well in the GIS map of the county. It's basically the same, right? So you just locate the piece of land and you're gonna start looking for, comparing apples to apples, right? If you're gonna start looking for, first of all, the most important is trying to look for the same acreage that is your piece of land. So if I have a 5-acre lot and I want to determine how much it's worth, I'm going to try look for the 5-acre lots, right? Not like the 10-acre lots or 12-acre lots. So I'm going to start looking for 5-acre lots, the closest possible to that area, and that have sold within the last 12 months. The sooner the best, right? Because like a market can change a lot in a year. So you don't need to focus on what happened 2 or 3 years ago. But if you don't have comparables that are close enough, you can start, looking a little bit more farther than the recent sales. But yeah, that's the way that I take a look at my piece of land. I locate the piece of land, check the physical aspects, and then I start looking at the comparables. I start looking how many sold for that price, what's the price per acre, right? You start doing an average, and yeah, that's how you can tell as well. The land portal, that is the website that I use, give you an estimate, and sometimes, most of the time, they're pretty accurate. So you can start, with giving yourself an idea of how much is worth, and you can start taking a look at the comps. And yeah, as well, I have three coaches, so I have no shame in telling that I always ask for a second opinion, right? Like,
Mhm.
if I'm going to spend $80,000 on a piece of land, I want to have two or three opinions, right, from people that are in the business as
Right.
well. So yeah, I always do that as well before I'm going to buy a piece of land. I always like to get second opinion, calling the realtors in the area that have sold before, the closest in that area, and having them, asking them, don't waste their time. Because I don't use realtors for listing my properties. I know we're gonna talk later about that, but
Mhm.
yeah, just tell them directly that you're looking for advice, and you can work together in maybe a future deal, or if he get a buyer, you would be really happy to give them a good commission.
Right. Now, how many of your offers, or what, or percentage wise, typically turn into contracts?
So I'm gonna be super honest with you. I'm not gonna lie and start inventing a percentage. I'm gonna tell you, like, in the 9 months that I've been doing this full time, I have collected 8 deals at the moment of land.
Okay.
Okay, like 8 land deals. So you can take an average of almost one a month, and I of course started sending 20K text messages, but there's a month that I don't got no deals. It could happen. But for example, this last February, this month, the last month, I grabbed 2 deals
Mhm.
in only 1 month. So I would say one deal a month is super achievable if you send between 25,000 to 50,000 text messages. And you have to follow up, you have to make things happen, not because you send a text message. There's hundred of guys like me that as well send
Right.
text blasting. So it depends a lot on the person, like how bad do you want it, how much you're going to follow up with the seller, how much you're going to make a relationship with them so they like you and they trust you.
Yeah.
But I would say in my case, I usually do a deal a month, basically.
Cool. I like the transparency on like the output to like the close, but like I am curious. Do you have a lot of like? Is there a lot of like contract ones you put under contract that once you're kind of in the due diligence you drop those off, or
No,
is it
no,
or
to
is
be
it like once you get to a contract it's pretty much
pretty,
like
yeah, pretty much happening.
okay.
To be honest, till now, there's other guys that they do it in a different way, that they like to double close it and act like a premium realtor. That I have done that myself. That you just put it under contract and you just post it on the market for sale, and you try to get an end buyer, and you
Right. It's basically wholesaling. Yeah.
yeah, basically wholesaling, but instead of just wholesaling it, you're putting it directly to the market and you're double closing. So the like both closing happening on the same days with the funds of the end buyer, you know. So yeah, I mean, in that type of business model, you can grab way more pieces of land, and there's a lot of fall through, right? Those that are not going to close. But in the way that I do it personally, I like to fund them myself. I have double close as well. I have done it,
Mhm.
but to be honest, I like to just fund them or get or raise money to buy them. When you have a good deal, is the least of your worries is the money, being honest. Because if you have a really great deal and you know how to explain it, and you have investor that you have worked before and they trust you and you have a good reputation, the money is gonna come, is gonna follow. You just need to find a really good deal.
No, I 100% agree. And I was just curious because locally in this area, my partner and I we put a lot of stuff under contract, and we intend to close on everything we put under contract. But we've had sometimes where due diligence will show something up, and so I mean I would say we aggressively send out a lot of offers, and we probably will put we probably average putting like probably 4 or 5 things under contract a month, but then we probably only close on 2 or 3 of the things. So I
Yeah.
mean, Okay, and then we'll have like 1 month of nothing. They'll have like 1 month of six. So
Yeah.
it's definitely like that. But yeah, I think we usually probably do like 1 to 2 a month that we close. But yeah, same thing. And I was just curious.
Yeah.
We since we're building it, we're obviously doing all of our due diligence to get it all the way build ready, and
Yeah.
so it's a little more. I guess we got a couple more boxes to check versus like if you're just trying to someone just wants to build one house and have some farmland or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
or some acreage. But cool. Now, when you do your due diligence steps, what are absolutely non-negotiable, and then how do you verify the access you talked about? Make sure it's not landlocked, utilities, zoning, flood zones.
Well, here most of my deals that I have done are in Florida, and I have an excellent title company that I work in Florida. As soon as I have an agreement signed, so the first thing that I have to do is I send my drone guy to take pictures so I can know how it looks in person. And this drone guy is gonna be like your boots on the ground, right? He's gonna record a video for me, check the land, go inside the land, tell me all the information that he can tell me about it, because I never seen any piece of land that I have flipped, So
Mhm.
that's the first thing. Then my title company is going to start doing the title search and lien search, right, to make sure that everything is good with the title chain, and to make sure that there's no upstanding debts or anything like that with the land. And as well, they cannot provide title insurance if you cannot have legal access, like the way that they work with me. So they help me with that, but as well, I call the county and verify all the things myself. It's just a quick call to the county property search is gonna. You just put the county name, whatever county you're working in. You could property search or GIS map, and it's gonna give you a phone number, and they're gonna tell you if you have to talk with zoning department, and they're gonna or anything like that, and they're gonna tell you all the information that you require. They can even send it to your email if you just tell them, you give them your email, they're going to send you all the information that they have about the land.
No, that's awesome. What are common red flags a lot of investors miss?
Sometimes I have seen, at least recently with my student, that they want to pull the trigger just because they want to say that they have a land deal and they invest in a deal that it's, you have to. I prefer to wait to have a really good deal than investing in a one that is not good enough for me. So I think that's the first thing as well. Um, you have to have the skin to do the game. Like real estate, you get paid when you make things happen. So you have to really push through adversity. If there's 1 month that it didn't close, you don't close the deal, that's fine. It's gonna happen. Like don't think that you're gonna start doing land and you're gonna get like 5 deals under contract like on your first month. Like, maybe if you have the marketing money, and you spend a lot of money, you could actually, of course you can do it. There's people in this game that do way more and they're amazing. I'm just talking about the stage where I am
Right.
and what I've been able to do in my first year flipping land, that I'm pretty sure that I'm going to close to 250,000 on my first year flipping land.
That's
So
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and everything is online, and for me, like a guy that comes from Peru, for me, that's something like I couldn't even fathom. A couple of years ago, I was a busser on a restaurant, and I worked my way up, working hard. And now I'm pretty sure that this is just the beginning, and I have so many things to keep scaling my business, to keep learning. And I'm pretty excited for the future because I only doing text blasting. I don't even have tried PPC for land. I haven't tried mail marketing. Those are the kind of stuff that even in land is the most famous way to do land investing is through mailers. That's the most old-fashioned way that most of the land investors till today they do it that way. And I'm doing it just with text blasting. So I want to hire a BA to help me to respond to texts, and I want to concentrate myself in more
I
high
got,
level.
I got to hook up on some VAs so we can talk after the show. So
Yeah, for sure.
I do got a good VA connection.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah. That's for sure something that I'm planning, and yeah.
yeah, no man, I love hearing that, and I'm actually gonna want to reiterate what you said for the audience listening, because I remember when I first got into real estate, you go to some meetups and there's always like a couple superstars in the room that are like, oh yeah, I have 30 something rentals, or or like, oh, I'm I'm in a bunch of apartments and have 600 doors, or oh man, I'm killing it as a flipper. I'm flipping like I'm flipping like 2-3 houses a month,
Yeah.
and you're like thinking like, oh my God, this dude's like doing 20-30 houses a year. I'm just trying to get my first deal. And what's amazing is, everybody who's doing that had their first deal. Like everybody started somewhere. Usually no one comes out of the gate unless, like, I mean, honestly, if you come out of the gate where you're capable of doing that many deals, you probably came from another successful venture before real estate.
Yeah.
Because most people don't, can't just rip it open like that. But the people that do are the people that just keep working, working, working. And all of a sudden, because I remember how it kind of happened for me is like, I was thinking, oh, I'm just doing a deal, or I'm just doing 1 or 2 deals a year. I'm just doing 3. Well, then it was like, I remember talking to my partner at the end of last year. We're like, oh, we did 17 transactions last year. And it was kind of like, who is this guy? Like, we did, like, it was us, like, like,
It can snowball pretty fast.
right. And so I say that kind of my story, and I think we're in like a kind of some similar places that it definitely, like said, picks up. So I just want to like share that because it's a steady thing, and I can kind of tell with you. I have a feeling that this year is going to be a very, very big year for you, just by how you told me how the text blasts work, because you're going to start making some second and third touches on some of these people.
Yeah. That's the most interesting part that
That's
I'm
gonna get the momentum. Yeah, because it's and then that's also, I mean, just kind of in my own mind, and I wish Will could have made it on today, but even in our own, like, here, because we're very, very local in Pensacola and how we do our operation, our business, especially since we're buying our land, building the houses, and then either selling them or renting them. But like with that, it's like once we did a couple deals and got our name out there, then that snowballed into more deals, and that snowballed into like, I remember when I was talking about it to investors on the first couple deals, and people were listening to me and giving me a little time, and I had a couple people interested, but no one. Well, now it's like I have people calling me up and like, hey, how can I get involved with what you're doing? Like more people are seeking, and so it definitely snowballs. Like if you're putting in the work and people are seeing you put in the work, and I'm not recommending anybody do any like fake, so don't post on social just to be posting on fake. But if you're really, really out there doing it, and you can showcase people that you're doing it, showcasing your jobs, it definitely picks up. And
I mean, Sam, there's always gonna be someone that is in a higher level than you. I know there's land investors that are way more,
especially in real estate.
yeah,
Alone,
especially in real estate.
Grant Cardone is my hero, and he's he's multi-billion. So
yeah. No, I totally agree. But the hardest thing is to start. But once you start getting momentum, and as you say, you start learning way more, and it's like a learning curve. So yeah, it's pretty amazing what land can do, and I'm pretty excited, to be honest, pretty grateful for having students right now that they're able to do their first deal with me. And yeah, man, that's one of the things that I'm more excited, because I knew when years before that I would kill for someone that really give me the attention that I always wanted. For example, when I show my students, I do it one-on-one with them, and I treat them the way that I always wanted to be treated when I was wishing for a coach. So I'm trying to be the coach that I always wished for, basically.
No, I love that. Now, what does a safe margin look like when flipping land?
I mean, I always try to buy the pieces of land at least at 50% of market value, at least.
Okay.
So I buy them pretty steep, to be really sure. The smallest flip that I have done is I bought it for 10 grand and I resell it for 25.5. So, that's the smallest deal that I've done in land, and it was 1 acre. So yeah, that's my margin. At least I try to buy it at least at 50% of market value. I have bought it 30%, 40%, even 25% of market value. But yeah,
No,
always below 50%.
Now Now, a little bit of follow up on that is I'm assuming that maybe some of those deep ones, like if you're buying at say 25% of market value, I'm assuming it might be like way out there in the sticks, you know. So is is
No, no,
that maybe
yeah.
not?
No,
Okay.
not always, because Sam, the thing with land is that most of the time, uh, the landowners, they just want to get rid of the piece of land because they're just paying taxes. They don't use it, and as well, they don't know how much is really worth. It's not like a homeowner that have the comps really like all over. It's way harder to comp land, and as well, there's no very good land realtors because they don't care about land. There is small transactions. They get paid really small. So I mean, there's a huge opportunity at the moment of acquiring land. And if you do volume, it's a numbers game. There's going to be one guy that just want to get rid of the land, and you're going to get a really good discount. For example, my first deal, just for you to have an idea, this was on my second full week of texting. I sent a text message, hey, what's up? My name is Diego. No, I don't say what's up. Hey, how are you? My name is Diego. I'm looking to buy land, in X county. Would you be open to sell yours? And this guy, his name was Donnie. He replied me, just 32K. That's it. That's the only thing he replied. 32K. I take a look at the piece of land, and all the pieces of land were selling for 85, 90. It was a 10-acre lot, okay? And it was selling for $85,000, $90,000. I went ahead. Thanks God, this guy lived in Miami as well, like me. I meet him in McDonald's with an agreement. We signed for 30K. I bought it with my own funds. Thank God I have the funds to buy it. And 2 weeks after, I got an offer for 80K. So I made $46,000 on my first year, on my first deal, my bad. And it blew my mind. And yeah,
Now was that like I always because I sometimes think that in real estate having too good of a first deal can
yeah,
sometimes be a bad thing. So not saying it was obviously getting a paycheck that big is great. I mean, like that's like more than a school teacher makes a single year. One
yeah, it
check.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did that overhype you up for the second deal, or did you realize like, okay, this was a really really good deal? They might not always be this good.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was a really good deal, but as well, the thing that I was worried the most when I closed my first deal, I want to make sure it wasn't luck. I want to make sure that it happened because I'm doing the right things.
Right.
So when I got my second deal, third deal, fourth deal, I was okay. I know that what I'm doing is working. It was not just a one shot of luck. My second deal, it was a double close. Okay, I
Okay.
didn't use my own money. It was a guy that have a 5-acre lot. I put it under contract for 28,000. I told the seller what I was gonna do. Super transparent. Hey man, I think I can sell this for 40,000. I'm gonna cover all the closing costs. I'm gonna take the drone professional pictures. You don't have to deal with no realtor. Just sign the agreement, and in less than 60 days, you have your 28,000. He said, yeah, that works for me. I put it under contract, listed with an attorney in fact. And then I'm gonna explain you how I list my properties on the MLS without using no realtor. But yeah, I listed on the market and got the same day that I listed the full price offer for 40,500, make $11,000 without using my own money, just connecting two agreements, and a title company. So that was my second deal, and the third deal, this was a 5-acre that I bought for $17,000, and in less than 60 days, I sold it for 54,000, and I make $34,000. So yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. That actually led to one of my other questions. What is the normal your normal turnaround time on this from time
till
you
now,
to time you sell it?
yeah, till now is less than 60 days. But now, for example, I have a property that is this is my biggest deal that I'm working on. Okay, this is a 21-acre lot in Florida that I bought for $84,000. I bought it for $84,000 cash, and right now it's on the market for 171. And it's been 25 days on the market. I have received a lot of calls, but it haven't put under contract yet. This is the one that is taking a little bit more because it's in a place where there's less density. and it's a bigger acreage. So I knew it was going to take a little bit more. But in average, less than 60 days from start to finish, it's what I've been seeing on my land deals. The way that I market it with the pricing strategy that I have and the way that I market the land, that I think that's the most important, because most of the realtors, they're, I'm not gonna say lazy, but they just take pictures from the ground like this of the land. You know, they don't even go with a drone professional guy. They don't put the lot lines really nice. They don't edit the pictures with saturation so it looks really nice and green. Those kind of details, you know, make your, because at the end of the day, you know that Zillow is like a Facebook of real estate, right? Like all is like a social algorithm of real estate. So if your listing have traction from the beginning and a lot of people are putting likes, it's gonna, you know, you're gonna have more views. And in order to have those views and likes, you need a good first image on your Zillow page, right? The first one, so they can click on it. So with the right marketing and with the right marketing pricing strategy, I've been able to resell them in less than 60 days till now.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
The if someone wants to go full time in the land, how many deals per month do they need to survive? I think you answered, you know, pretty much
Yeah.
one
You just
one
need
good one.
one deal. You just need one deal, and you're like, with one deal you can have like 4 or 5 months. Let's say you just make $20,000, right? To do the business model the way I do it, I'm not gonna lie, you cannot do it for free, right? You have to invest in marketing. And I personally, right now, I invest close to $2,500, but I started just with $1,900 a month in marketing, okay, through the text messages. So your whole marketing, like for the whole year, is $24,000. That you, well, your business, Sam, you can just invest $2,000 a month to start, and just think of having a return of 50K, 40K, 60K. Like, you know, I haven't seen any business that you can make that amount of money, because you don't need the money to buy the land. If you have it, that's best, because you will save money on lenders or funders, or you don't have to split a part of the profit. But you know, you have the opportunity to make a big amount of money just investing $2,000 a month, you know.
Right.
So yeah, with one deal you can make easily $20,000 and be good for at least 4 months, you know, with your living expenses, and try to lock another deal. And you know, as I'm telling you, the way that I've been doing it, I've been able to lock in average maybe almost one deal a month, right? So yeah.
And you've been doing that all pretty much as a one man show, just
Yeah, one man show, full time. You know, I have a good work ethic. You know, I'm obsessed with the land. You know, these 9 months of my life being only land, land, and land, and I'm really happy because I really like it. You know, and I'm just looking to the future, like how can I scale it, how I can keep learning more. There's so many things that I want to try. For example, I want to start doing subdivisions. That's where a lot of money is made in doing land, and as well another land. This is like the top level of land is land entitlement. That's where you make millions of dollars, but it
yeah.
takes as well 1 year or two to see the fruits of your work.
And there's a lot of money you got to sink in to
Yes,
yeah,
yeah,
before you get paid. But yeah, no, I'm with you. That's yeah, that's pretty much what when you become the developer, when you go get the land entitlements, and that's the top echelon of
no, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk later after the podcast, Sam, because I really want to, you know, start building as well. Hopefully next year. That's my dream. You know, I always wanted to build a house. You know, so of
right.
course I would love to see the chance of.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, and I love, like I said, I love how we connected too, because, like I said, I saw your posts on one of the Facebook pages that I was in about land, and so I know you're active, and I know you're very friendly to in your responses and stuff, because you know whenever I first messaged you, I didn't really say it a whole lot on my end. That was really all just kind of like asking you questions, and you know, you could have been like, "Why are you being nosy?" Instead, you know, you were just answering them, you know, and you know, because also I was really just trying to qualify you to make sure, like, okay, is this guy
Yeah,
real? Have you already
no,
done it?
there's a lot of guys that they make their money selling courses. I don't claim to do millions of dollars, you know, like
Right.
and all the flips that I told you, you can verify it with an easy property search in the county, you
Well,
know.
and all that. No, I don't even think it's necessary to either. I mean, people definitely can, but I can also tell you, like all those deals sounded real. Like you had the details of them because I definitely have caught people before. Never on my show. Usually, everyone who's on my show is good at what they do. But just when you meet people at a meetup, when people are overhyping it, and you like ask
Yeah.
them about their first deal, when they don't really recall it all the way, like look, as a dude, you remember your first time, all right? Like,
Or
and, and I'm just saying that when you accomplish something that was life changing for you, and I mean, I just don't see anyone getting that
forgetting.
first check
Yeah.
that because I remember my first check in real estate came from a refi of one of my properties that I was able to pull out 82,000 and change, you know. So I remember it perfectly because up until that day, I never made more than 45K a year, and so it was like that single check was like 2 years worth of money in my hand, and so like that was life changing for me. That's like when I had a mental proof of concept of like what real estate can do. It's like, oh wow, okay, if I buy this, hold it for a period of time, it goes up in value and I can get these checks. So all I got to do is own enough of it and hold enough of it. And, and so, yeah, like I said, I remember, but, no, like I said, I really enjoyed talking to you. I think you have a lot of good information, definitely on the right track. If someone has 5 to 10K, how would you tell them to realistically get started in land flipping? Because the question I had originally was if they had 5K, could they get started? But you've already given me enough where I know they can. So let's just say someone comes into the game, they got 10K in their pocket, and they're trying to get going. What would that start look like for the first 90 days? How would you tell them
So
to spend money, and what would you tell them to do?
yeah, the first thing that I would tell them is to spend in education. Like super straightforward. Like if you want to do land, if you really want to make it happen, you're not gonna cut it with a YouTube video. You know, learning from YouTube University. You need a coach. I don't say it have to be me. It could be whatever. Like a good coach that you see that they really care about you learning, and that they are not just selling courses, and they actually do what they preach. But yeah, the first thing that I would do is invest in education to the best that I can invest, so I can learn, and then start sending text messages and have a lot of action. You can say a lot. You have to make things that are going to make you land your first deal. Just thinking and learning is good. It's going to help you to land your first deal. But what is actually going to help you? Having conversation with landowners, sending them text messages, have a lot of outreach, give a lot of offers, have a lot of talk with them, consume information about land. This isn't going to make you a deal directly, but you have to consume a lot of information about land. So I would tell them, like, if you really want to do these with 10K, you're more than good to start. Even with 5 you can start. I wouldn't recommend 5 because that's only maybe 2 months of marketing, and if you don't do your first, but with 10K you're more than good to start in land investing, and just consume a lot of information, get obsessed about it, and work really hard. Don't put excuses. And yeah, basically that's what I would recommend anyone.
Cool. And I know you offer education. How do people connect with you? Do you have like a school group, or how does your education work?
Well,
Or you do one on. You just said you do more one-on-one type stuff,
yeah,
coaching.
yeah, yeah. I don't do no group coaching or nothing like that. If you want to connect with me, you can just look me on Facebook as Diego Ferro, or you can look me on Instagram as D as Diego, F as Ferro, USA 66, DF USA 66. And yeah, you can just connect with me. And if you're really interested, what I offer is one-on-one education, 6 Zoom calls directly with me, where I'm gonna teach from A to Z all that you need to know about land, and I'm going to teach you all the software, how to use them. And yeah, my first student thanks God, we started on January, let's say half of January. So not even one completely month. Yeah, 1 month and maybe a week in, and both of them, two of my students already are having a deal, and they started in less than 2 months. So that's amazing for me, and I'm really happy because I'm going to work with them on those deals. And yeah, excited for, having more people learning. And I really like to teach, it's something that I find out this year, but I really have a passion. Like, it's not like it's 1 hour and that's it. Like, I can stay 15 minutes, 20 minutes more talking about land. Like, for me, it's okay. If I have the time, I happily do it. And I really care that someone learns.
I mean, I think that's great. And yeah, I found that some of the best people I know in real estate, they do have a passion for sharing it with others. And honestly, like I think that's one of the reasons Will and I started this podcast was to help educate, other people about all the nuances of real estate because a lot of people are in their zone of it, but don't realize all the other aspects. And we just love bringing experts on that know more about different niches than we do and help sharing it all because I mean we like I said we just love sharing the knowledge and then also by us being involved teaching people what we know it keeps us sharp and always up to date with everything in the know. So no, I
Yeah.
think it goes hand in hand. What and before we close out, we always like to ask, was there as I know you mentioned some podcasts, YouTube, was there any particular podcast,
Yeah.
influencer, or maybe a book you read that you would recommend others
Yeah.
check out?
Yeah, for sure. The Apke brothers. Those are the owners of Land Portal. Apke brothers. Those guys are on top of the education game as well. Land with Luis Melo. He's a Brazilian investor that lives in Texas, and he have a really good information. I follow him, and yeah, the Apke brothers. Those guys, they have an amazing land podcast that since I started, I'm gonna tell you, I always wanted to be on the podcast, and I'm not confirming it yet, but I received today a message of Ron, and there's a chance that I could appear on the podcast next week. So that would be amazing, like that would be like a full-time circle. I started doing land. I wanted to be in that podcast that I always they talk about land and they like share success stories. So it would be amazing to be there. But yeah, I'm super happy as well to be here with you and to talk about land and share all of the things that we have experienced in real estate. And I'm really looking forward to talking with you because I really want to learn like what you're doing. I think it's as well another step that I want to do besides land because I'm always going to flip land. I have it.
Right.
I'm sure of that, but I want to, because I already know how to find excellent parcels, so that's one of the things that can help for building later.
Yeah, man. No, I'll definitely offline share everything that we do and kind of how we look at it. Because yeah, like I said, yeah, we'd love to help you out and like I said, I'm hoping we can work together. Maybe you can help source some land
Sure.
up here and we can just build on it and split it. We've
Yeah, I would love that.
we've done a few deals with people like that where like I said they brought the land, we bring the construction and then we just split it all on the back end, so it did works out great. So
I would
hey,
be totally open to do that for sure.
this is usually the time of the show that I point out people to if they have any land in Pensacola or the Escambia County area to please go to my website, the eliterealestatepodcast.com, and shoot it down that message. But also, if you have any land outside of Escambia County, please direct it to my friend Diego here. he'll,
Yeah, thank you so much.
he'll help you out with any land like I said, outside of the Pensacola area. Again, Diego, for people listening, let them know where they can reach out to you again, both on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, they can look for me on Facebook as Diego Ferro, or they can as well send me a text on Instagram as DFUSA. That's my Instagram handle.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, man, I definitely appreciate having you on the show. This was great. Let me give a couple shout outs too. If you need any building supplies in the Northwest Florida area, Again, go to our website, theeliterealestatepodcast.com. Shoot us a message there at the bottom. My business partner, William McClellan, will reach out to you. He's a salesman with Dufresne Building Supplies. They're based out of Louisiana, and they supply building supplies all over the panhandle of Florida to Baldwin County in Alabama. So we'd love to help you out. If you're if you're a busy professional and you're in the Mobile, Alabama area, Pensacola, Shalimar, or Tallahassee, Florida area, please stop by my restaurants, Clean Eats. We're a healthy cafe and meal prep company, and we would love to serve you. And again, reach out to Diego if you have any land. If you're interested in learning how to acquire and flip land, he does one-on-one coaching and would love to help you out. And I can just tell through my few conversations with him that, like I said, he's a very helpful, charismatic guy who will definitely help you learn and be there for you. And like I said, I can't wait to talk with you further outside the show, man. But thank you so much for joining me on the Elite Real Estate Podcast, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. And we can't wait to see everyone next week. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, man. The honor was mine, and I absolutely appreciate the invitation. I'm looking forward to talk then with you.
Sounds good, man. We'll talk soon.
Bye, man. Take care.